I used to believe marriage was the safest place in the world. A fortress built on shared dreams, late-night conversations, and quiet promises whispered in the dark. For 11 years, Mark and I had that, or so I thought. Until the night I found the small blue vial tucked inside the lining of his gym bag, hidden like a dirty secret. The label was faded, but the residue inside shimmered under the bathroom light. A powerful sedative known on the street as forget-me juice. Street value high, street use low. Unless you wanted someone compliant, foggy, and eventually declared incompetent. My name is Sarah Ellison. I'm a forensic accountant. Numbers don't lie. People do. It started small. I'd wake up with headaches that felt like someone had drilled into my skull. Jewelry went missing. A sapphire necklace from my mother, gold bangles from my grandmother, only to reappear days later in odd places, as if I'd misplaced them in a haze. Mark would tilt his head, concern creasing his handsome face. You're working too hard, babe. The grief over your dad is hitting you harder than you think. He'd kiss my forehead, brew my evening tea with honey just the way I liked it, and watch me drink. Every night for 91 nights. I didn't suspect at first. Grief does strange things. My father had passed 8 months earlier, leaving behind a $33 million estate, mostly illiquid assets from his tech patents and real estate holdings. Mark had always joked about being kept, if I ever inherited big. We laughed. Then the joke stopped, replaced by quiet questions about trusts, power of attorney, and whether I was fit to manage it all alone. The vial changed everything. I took a sample to a discreet lab under a fake name. The report came back. Zolpidem mixed with scopolamine derivatives, enough to induce amnesia like fog, disorientation, and long-term cognitive decline if administered chronically. Perfect for building a case of incompetence. Perfect for a husband who wanted control, without the mess of divorce. I could have confronted him, screamed, called the police. But rage is loud and sloppy. Il chose silence. And strategy. The first swap happened on a Tuesday. Mark stirred the tea as usual, humming softly. I pretended to sip, then, while he turned to rinse the spoon, I switched the cups with the smooth motion I'd practiced in front of the mirror for hours. He drank mine. I drank plain chamomile from his untouched mug. He smiled, satisfied. I smiled back, heart hammering. Night after night, the ritual continued. He grew slower, forgetful. Keys misplaced. Meetings cancelled. Must be stress, he'd mutter, rubbing his temples. I played the concerned wife. Extra vitamins, gentle reminders, doctor appointments he kept postponing. Meanwhile, I documented everything. A hidden journal in encrypted cloud storage. Photos of the vial, timestamps of each swap. I installed my own cameras, discreet, motion-activated, in the kitchen, bedroom, and hallway. What I saw confirmed my worst fears. A tiny lens in the smoke detector above our bed. Mark checking it weekly, reviewing footage on his laptop when he thought I was asleep. He was building a dossier. Sarah forgetting anniversaries, losing documents, stumbling over words. Gaslighting on camera. Then came the affair. I cloned his phone during one of his longer gym sessions. Thank you, retired Detective Elias Grant, who owed my father a favor from decades ago. The texts with Chloe, my college roommate, my maid of honor, my supposed best friend, were surgical in their cruelty. She's slipping faster than expected. Doc says another month and we can push for guardianship. Once the estate clears probate, Cayman accounts are ready. Yumi and sunsets. No more pretending. Chloe had been signing for packages, my missing jewelry, shipped to a P.O. box. They planned to declare me unfit, liquidate assets, and disappear. There were even blueprints. Gas lines in our house marked in red. A tragic accident to tie up loose ends. I felt sick. Not from betrayal. By then I was numb. But from the realization that the man I'd loved had reduced me to collateral damage. The escalation came fast. One night at 2:17 a.m., I heard the floorboards creak. Mark stood over me with a syringe, moonlight glinting off the needle. Faster-acting sedative. Permanent solution. My phone alarm, programmed to sound like a smoke detector, blared. He froze. I stirred, mumbling incoherently, eyes half closed. He backed away, cursing under his breath. The next day, Detective Miller from Financial Crimes called. Elias had tipped him off anonymously. Intercepted shipments. Forged signatures. And the blueprints. Mark and Chloe discussing loosening the water heater's gas line in the basement. She'll sign the deeds once she's dazed. Then boom, faulty appliance. Tragic, but convenient. I didn't wait for them to act. I rigged the water heater myself. Nothing explosive, just enough pressure buildup to trigger an automatic shutoff, and alarm if tampered with. Then I waited. The night they tried, I hid in the pantry first, then slipped to the basement shadows. Mark entered, tools in hand. Chloe behind him, ledger in hers, the original from my father's safe, containing not just deeds but encrypted evidence of his competitors' fraud, malpractice records, and drug purchases tied to Mark's contacts. Mark spotted me. His face twisted, surprise then rage. Sarah? What the hell? I didn't speak. I simply pressed the override button on the heater panel. A low hiss filled the room. Pressure climbed. The alarm shrieked. Mark lunged. I dodged. Chloe screamed. Police breached the front door minutes later. Detective Miller's team, tipped by Elias. Mark was cuffed on the basement floor, babbling excuses. Chloe tried to run with the ledger. She didn't get far. But the ledger was never the prize. My father had been paranoid about greed. Years earlier, he'd installed a dead man's hand protocol. Any unauthorized access triggered asset freezes, automatic notifications to authorities, and full disclosure of embedded evidence. Wire transfers to offshore accounts, falsified medical records from Dr. Aries, the specialist they'd lined up, and purchase logs for the sedatives. Chloe and Aries fled to the Caymans with what they thought was a fortune. Within 48 hours, Interpol had them. The ledger's digital ghost had already sung. 3 weeks later, I visited Mark in county lockup. Orange jumpsuit. Hollow eyes. The man who once charmed everyone now looked small. Why, he whispered. I leaned close to the glass. You thought you were the predator. But I learned from the best. My father taught me numbers, Elias taught me patience, and you taught me survival. He looked confused. The estate. Gone, I said softly. Dad donated 90% to a children's foundation the week before he died. I only kept the house. And his lessons. Mark's face crumpled. Not remorse, regret for getting caught. I stood. Karma isn't instant. Sometimes it brews slowly like tea. And sometimes, the poison you pour for someone else ends up in your own cup. I walked out without looking back. Today, I live quietly. The house is mine, but it's no longer haunted. I brew my own tea, plain chamomile, no honey. I sleep without cameras watching. And every night, I thank the woman who swapped those cups 3 months ago. She wasn't just surviving.